Hello, hello! Before I begin, I wanted to give a quick warm thank you to everybody who supports me on Patreon. This is the best way anybody can support me if you can. Thank you very much for everybody who gives me something. This is what keeps me part-time and not full-time. And I wanted to give a small apologies for my lack of content that I've been putting out recently. I'll try to make amends for it as soon as I can. On to the video. Do enjoy.
Before white supremacists, neo-Nazis, and white nationalists marched in Charlottesville, Virginia in August.
Before white supremacists, neo-Nazis, and white nationalists. Wait a second. That seems awfully one-sided, don't you think? You seem to only be naming the far-right groups that were at Charlottesville, because I have a feeling that bringing up these guys probably wouldn't fit too well into the narrative you're trying to present here. Antifa, officially recognized by the United States government as a domestic terror group. Now I know every big media outlet that doesn't rhyme with schmucks schmooze doesn't like to bring up the fact that there are actually far-left groups, that are violent, who beat people up, destroy property, But we can't even get 10 seconds in before you're trying to be disingenuous by framing the events of Charlottesville as a problem created by solely right-wing groups. Maybe your subtle attempt at framing is why the like-to-dislike ratio is actually fairly even, with 27 likes and 22 dislikes. Gosh, you'd think more people would be smarter than... Oh, yeah, that's right. I don't know if I have ever seen a like-to-dislike ratio this bad. And the fact that it's been like 5-6 days since you put this video up and it's still public, you are sticking to your guns, NBC. And even though you're scum, I can at least respect you for that.
They were organizing behind a computer screen.
Probably because you wouldn't let them do it in public, and this is what happens as a result. They coagulate out of sight. Antifa burned down Berkeley because a Jew gave a speech. He was called a fascist, right-wing, Trump-supporting Nazi. This is what happens when people are constantly deplatformed and unable to speak in public. They'll meet up with one another, but they'll be doing it out of sight. And when they're out of sight, they're out of mind, and then eventually, well, they explode, as they did at Charlottesville. They retreated to their echo chambers amongst themselves.
And a lot of that organizing happened through a messaging service called Discord, which was originally created to connect video game players to one another. This is just the latest in the long-running shared history. This is just the latest in the long-running shared history.
I love the KKK hood icon there. It sells it. It really sells it, NBC. While Discord was originally created for gamers to talk to one another, now it's only used to turn gamers into the KKK.
This is just the latest in the long-running shared history between the gaming community and the alt-right.
Connecting the dots, the gamers of the alt-right, it's really not that complicated. There are lots and lots of gamers in the United States. According to an April 2015 study released by the Entertainment Software Association, over 150 million Americans play video games, with 42% of Americans playing them at least 3 hours a week. Some of them will be alt-right. But you people are always bitching about the inclusivity of video games. Well, I guess now we know that inclusivity is only good when it includes the right people with the right opinions. I bet some of Wiz Khalifa's fans are racist. I bet some of Selena Gomez's fans are racist. I'll bet some of Markiplier's fans are racists. I'll be waiting for your expose on how Selena Gomez leads young people to the alt-right, though.
Gaming culture has always been racist, it's always been sexist, but the internet has sort of allowed us to just sort of see what has always been there.
Petitio Principii, also known as begging the question. It's when an argument assumes that the premise is true. I've been gaming my entire life to different degrees of regularity. I have yet to be convinced that gaming is a den of sexist, racist, misogynist, homophobic bigots. If the people in gaming knew this to be true, I feel like this video would have a bit better of a like-to-dislike ratio, and people would be jumping at the chance to cleanse their hobby. Unless they do all hate women and black people.
Emma Vossen is a PhD candidate studying how sexism seeded in gaming is replicated in the real world.
Sounds like she has a bright future ahead of her. And a PhD candidate? You couldn't find somebody who had, you know, a PhD?
Her study is based on Gamergate.
Oh boy, here we go. Please, NBC, tell us about how much you know about Gamergate. I'm sure you won't misconstrue anything.
A movement that began with intimidating and harassing female video game journalists under the guise of fairness in video game journalism. The harassment quickly gained traction. It helped catalyze the alt-right movement, which secured power and prominence during the 2016 election cycle.
What the fuck did I just watch? What aberration of journalism has produced this catastrophe which I see before me? Gamergate was not a misogynist hate movement. It was an online movement around reducing unethical practices in the video game industry. It also works to resist the encroachment onto the video game industry by social justice politics, much like what yours truly does. The tweets that NBC puts on the screen are, well, self-evidently edited heavily. The tweets themselves were real, but... well, let's just say it shouldn't take a PhD candidate to understand that this is not what a tweet looks like. The tweets came from Kevin Dobson, an obvious burner account someone created on Twitter. In the span of only 3 minutes, Kevin Dobson's account sent out 10 tweets, all of them directed feminist frequency, Anita Sarkeesian. 10 tweets in 3 minutes, each one of them with excellent spelling and grammatical punctuation. Odd coming from someone who says, "I'll drink your blood out of your cunt after I rip it open." This image is taken from Anita Sarkeesian's tweet itself. But Anita, as you know, is not exactly intelligent. The account's final tweet was captured by her only 12 seconds after it was posted. And you can imagine how little time there is between these perfectly worded tweets that do not go over Twitter's character limit. You know, since 10 of them were made in 3 minutes. But there's even more. The screen capper was not even signed in. So, for some reason, somebody signed out of Twitter before they took the screenshot, or somebody who didn't even have a Twitter account somehow stumbled across the burner account of somebody who only made 10 tweets in 3 minutes and had no followers. Or who is following nobody. Obviously, the account is suspended now. Shocker, you can't access the tweets. And despite plastering in an obnoxious fashion the words #Gamergate across the top of every one of these edited tweets, this account had nothing to do with Gamergate. At least it doesn't mention it anywhere, either in the tweets or in the bio. It doesn't reference it. It doesn't even reference Anita referencing it. NBC also blatantly states that Gamergate was a harassment campaign under the guise it was about ethics in games journalism. What NBC fails to mention, though, is that if it was a harassment campaign, the FBI closed their case because they could find no actionable leads or evidence. The report says no additional subjects or actionable leads were developed as a result of the investigation. NBC is full of bold-faced lies, conjecture at the most charitable, fake news of the highest caliber. This video is nothing more than a smear job against gamers and Gamergate.
When you were studying Gamergate and you were really looking at the techniques that they use, it's impossible not to see the same techniques being used by Trump supporters.
What techniques? And by who? What techniques? Are you saying that the alt-right in Gamergate was harassing Hillary Clinton? You know that there have been 2 assassination attempts on Trump, right? You understand the phrase, "the tolerant left," is a meme now? All of this ignoring the fact that Gamergate is not a right-wing movement. In his article, "No, Gamergate is not right-wing," journalist Brad Glasgow, who, for disclosure, is someone I consider an acquaintance of mine. I've done streams with him, and I have spoken with him in the past. Brad went into the proverbial lion's den and interviewed 725 Gamergate supporters who could verify that they had supported Gamergate in the past. Firstly, around half of the people in the survey were not even American. If they did vote, they overwhelmingly voted for Barack Obama over Mitt Romney, with Gary Johnson in a close third. Liberal Democrats and Labor Party candidates were the top 2 answers from UK responders. They seem to think that humans contribute to climate change, that minorities have as much of a chance to succeed as anyone else, marijuana should be illegal. Most say there should not be a death penalty. Without a doubt, the overwhelming answer here was that homosexuals should be allowed to marry. 2/3 of them said that a man who transitions into a woman should be considered a woman. 91% said abortion should be legal. And 78% said healthcare should be a public service provided by the government. Americans favor the death penalty more than Europeans do. When asked, it does not matter whether my protagonist in a video game is male or female, the almost unanimous response was, I agree or I don't care. As for the claim Gamergate had a fascination with Breitbart, 2/3 of Gamergaters never read from there. Only 6% said they frequently do. I went through that pretty fast, but there's a link in the description to the survey, and you could check it out for yourself with all the graphs I showed.
According to Vossen, the gamers and the alt-right share common ground.
As people who are marginalized are fighting for equality,
Well, gosh, when you phrase it like that.
those who've traditionally had privilege, especially white men, feel that they are being oppressed by these people who are trying to just be treated as equal.
Yeah, you can understand where those 29,000 dislikes are coming from. Everybody loves equality, right? It's such a wonderful concept, such a pro-humanist idea. But the reality is a little stickier and grayer than just equality. Progressives, the anti-Gamergate crowd, they want equality of outcome, not equality of opportunity. Your quote-unquote fight for equality ends when you begin discriminating against those who you believe in your mind are oppressing you. You can't, for instance, justify affirmative action as a fight for equality when it discriminates against Asians and whites. You can't demand to be treated equally when you want to treat others unequally.
Why do you hate black people? African Americans.
They're dirty, they're stingy, and they're just gross.
That small Call of Duty clip was taken from a video done by And I'm Gone while playing Black Ops 2. This is the video right here.
I'm just curious of why do you hate black people? African Americans.
They're fucking dirty, they're stingy, and they're just fucking gross.
Well, you just try to explain a single person,
I mean, first off, the guy's Call of Duty emblem is a Confederate flag with the bright green words, I hate niggers, in front of it. I think he might be trolling. I mean, to me, it just seems like it's a little over the top and obvious and in your face, and it's probably just someone trying to mess with you. But who knows? Maybe this person really is that way. I don't know. But I wonder what And I'm Gone thinks of NBC using his video in a smear job hit piece against gamers and Gamergates that uses his clip to attack his very own hobby and his community to paint them as racists and bigots. I reached out to And I'm Gone on Twitter to ask him if he was aware of his video being used for these purposes, and I await his reply with bated breath. Updates will most likely occur on Twitter, where you can follow me. In the video's comment section, one of the higher rated comments says that he was trolling and that he played with Cost DFF. I don't know how to pronounce that. And apparently other people said that they saw that, so I don't know if it's true or not, but he seems like a troll, and people in the comments are saying that he's a troll and he had talked to some other YouTuber about trolling this guy. And if that's the case, well, then that means that NBC, a massive mainstream media news organization, fell for a troll online and used that to paint an entire community, group of people, an online movement as racists and bigots. Because they fell for an online troll in Call of Duty. Alright everybody, listen up. I had this video planned to upload yesterday, but I've come under the knowledge of a few things that I felt was worth delaying the video a day to put it here. Earlier on Twitter, I let everybody know that I found the clip that the NBC video had used, the one done by And I'm Gone. I messaged him and even sent him a DM to let him know about the NBC video. So imagine my surprise when he said he never gave them permission to use the video. He replied to my DMs as well and gave me some very interesting information. Turns out, he was approached by a digital journalist from NBC named Melanie Bencosme, I think. I don't know the pronunciation. In her tweet, she asked him for permission to use the video as part of this NBC one. When he asked what it exactly would be for, she said it's a video for NBCnews.com. In the piece, there's a section on racism, on Xbox Live and PlayStation Network. He said what would exactly be said and what are the timestamps for the clips. She tells him the timestamps. Then he asks her, I won't be portrayed as a bad person? Or that person in the video, will I? Because I've done something like this before and it made me look really bad. It's not focused on you in any way, she says. The reason why I want to use your clip is because you were the first one I found that actually questioned why the person is being racist. And I don't want to sound petty, but the way she phrases that seems really unusual. Like she doesn't expect people online to question or call out racism or act like this person in the video's a fool. She is a journalist after all. It surprises me that it surprises her because the video is rated extremely positively. 1960 to 33. So it's like the polar opposite of the NBC video. And the comments are all insulting the racist person in the video, namely by calling out their pedigree. It is extremely obvious that the Call of Duty community sees these racist folks as outliers, and they don't want to associate with them, and they shun them. In any event, Melanie shows blatant disregard for the truth, and instead would much rather substitute it with her own perception. She says, also, if you prefer, I don't have to give you attribution in the video. I solely just need your permission to use it. So right here, she claims that he needs to give her permission for her to use the clip in the NBC video. Now, my knowledge is not 100%, but I don't think they needed permission. I think this would fall under fair use. But it's the principle of the matter. They said they needed his permission, and he didn't give them permission, and they used it anyway. Similarly, what's very odd is that right after that, she says, I need your permission to use it, but I have all the usernames in the video blurred out, so it wouldn't be identifiable otherwise. So she had the video done. She had it edited. She had the names blurred out. The work was done. She was more of the better to ask forgiveness than permission types, I'm guessing. She did the stuff with the video, edited it, went to him and asked permission if she could do the thing that she already did. So the next day, she messages him again saying, hello, just wanted to check in on this since I'm on deadline. Thank you for your time and let me know if there is anything else I can do, implying that you had done anything for him at all, Melanie, please. Do not give yourself that much credit. And I'm Gone sent me all of these images in DMs and said it was okay for me to use them to get the word out. He seems overall like a very swell fellow. We talked on Discord about it, and I shot him some suggestions for what he should do next, who to contact, maybe what to do in order to put the word out there himself. He sounds like a really nice guy, and he's not too hard on the eyes either. But I was extremely surprised to learn after speaking with him that I was the one who let him know that NBC had done this at all. He had no idea that NBC had actually used his video in one of theirs. Now, in technicality, they didn't have an obligation to. However, I do find it strange that the video journalist who is looking to get his permission that she said she needed to use his video in theirs would come to him, to his private messages, and not even have the courtesy after the fact to say, yeah, by the way, I lied about needing your permission, I did it anyway, also, here's a link. I'm not saying what NBC did was illegal. What I'm saying is that it was a dick move. The ultimate irony in all of this is that this NBC expose was meant to make Gamergate look like the bad guys. What they attempted to do was begin this video with the assumption that was obviously and self-evidently false that it was nothing but a harassment and hate campaign. They said it was done under the pretense of ethics and journalism, and then sure enough, here we go with this NBC video, which is, well, it's just full of ethics and journalism, isn't it? And you know, I even confirmed with And I'm Gone that this guy in the video was a troll. So, you're such a great journalist that you were unethical to And I'm Gone. You lied to him. You didn't have the courtesy to let him know that you went ahead and used the video anyway, even though you said you needed permission when you didn't really, and put him under that impression. But you didn't even take the quick check to make sure that the guy wasn't trolling. And as a result, you are now using a troll's example in a Call of Duty game to try and paint people in the gaming community as a bunch of racists, misogynists, bigots, fill in the blanks. You took a man's video and used it in a deceptive way to him in order to make his hobby and his community look like shit. And shame on you for doing that, Melanie. Shame on you.
Xbox Live and PlayStation Network both allow players to chat live while gaming. They have become havens for hate speech against women and minorities.
Havens for hate speech against women and minorities, huh? First off, hate speech is not a thing. It's called free speech. And if you don't like it, well, you can ride my red rocket all the way to the Supreme Court. And it will be a bumpy ride. As for havens of hate speech, man, I don't know where you're going online. Because you have to go out and find this shit. I have been part of a lot of communities in my internet, not career, I guess it is career now, sort of, in my internet adventuring journey. Steam groups and clans and groups of friends and cliques and websites, forums and other online communities, and I have yet to stumble across a haven of hate speech against women and minorities. I want you to go to a video game, whoever wrote this, scripted it, spoken it, I want you to go into a video game and start saying actually racist things. And you will not be met with acceptance and a warm welcome. People will mute you and block you and want to have nothing to do with you. The internet as a whole is a very inclusive place that is full of many different spaces for every kind of opinion and every kind of community. Not all of those communities, by the nature of human nature, will be wonderful, charming, cheery groups. To say that these online communication services are havens of hate speech is an extremely disingenuous thing to say, but you knew that, didn't you?
What I had noticed and witnessed was what I call like linguistic profiling, like just based on how somebody sounds, you know, they kind of lash out in like very like inappropriate ways.
Linguistic profiling, all right.
Who votes for mission? They allow girls to play Call of Duty in America?
Wow, they allow morons to play Call of Duty in America?
All right, so some guy made fun of her for being a girl, and so she fired right back at him. And you're trying to wrap up gamers, and you're trying to wrap up Gamergate as part of this, but we know from the surveys that Gamergaters have no problem with women. Even when it comes to feminism, the survey shows they don't have a problem with feminism as a concept, but mostly with third-wave feminism. But yeah, feminism is cancer.
Not everyone in the gaming community is sexist or racist. We are having this sort of internal cultural problem with sexist and racist gamers.
I wholly disagree with this 100%. Gaming has been one of the most inclusive spaces I've ever been into. There's a reason that it's getting bigger and bigger every year, and people from all ages and places and races and nationality can join in and enjoy themselves together. It's one big, wet, messy fuck pile of get good and try hard next time, scrub. But generally, I have noticed the people who oppose gaming, who want to paint gamers and the community as terrible, horrible, who try to demonize it, the people who are against Gamergate, by and large, these are the same people who try to give power to victimization itself. And when you fight the online culture war and victimization is your weapon, you need victims to fill in the ranks. And sometimes all it takes to create victims is to fool people into thinking they are, or to convince others there are more of them than there are.
So, what happens when these behaviors move from the gaming world to the real world?
Hitler!
Keegan Hanks studies the progression of the alt-right on the web.
Discord as a platform kind of had a meet.
Who is this clown for the Southern Poverty? Don't even get me started on the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Discord as a platform kind of had a meet.
Fuck the Southern Poverty Law Center. Like, seriously, fuck them. I know I mentioned it before, it just feels too good to say it. I mean, they classify Ayan Hirsi Ali and Majid Nawaz as anti-Muslim extremists. I shit you not, link in the description. Fuck the Southern Poverty Law Center. Well, rant over. Now it's back to NBC trying to smear Discord as well.
Discord as a platform kind of had a meteoric rise in the alt-right. You know, I think many of the members of the alt-right were actually aware of it because they were also members of the video game community.
Well, yeah, because Discord has much less of a big brother complex than Facebook or Twitter have. It's like saying a free speech platform like Gab, for instance, is a den for Nazis. If you give everybody the same right to say what they want to say, that doesn't mean you could smear them because they give everybody equal treatment. This is what happens when you alienate these groups instead of confronting them. They fester somewhere else in private, and then they explode. I'm a much better person because I've exposed myself to opposing views, and it has either reinforced the ones I had or has changed my mind. I was extremely religious when I was a pup, and now I'm an atheist. And that didn't happen because I locked myself in an echo chamber, and it didn't happen because other people told me I wasn't allowed to have these kinds of conversations with people. I changed my mind because I sought out and was encouraged to have debate and discussion.
Many of them are. Discord became almost a requirement for a lot of these people if you wanted to be actively involved in the movement.
If they had used Twitter DMs, would you be saying the same thing? What if they all carpooled to their little meetings in Toyota Tacomas? What would you say about Toyota? What if their most popular cell phone carrier was AT&T? Would AT&T be facilitating the rise of the alt-right? I know you're with the Southern Poverty Law Center, but I don't even think you're dumb enough to make that assumption. So why do that with Discord?
Discord is anonymous and lightly monitored,
Thank goodness.
which allowed the alt-right to control communications and access for thousands of users.
Yeah, but you could do that anywhere else. They just use Discord. You can control who comes into your servers. You can control who your private conversations are with. I mean, a private server for Discord is basically PMs and DMs, however whatever you want to call them. Just because a platform allows for something does not mean it is responsible for that thing happening. That's ridiculous.
Some Discord servers controlled by alt-right leaders made users post pictures of their Caucasian skin in order to participate.
Oh, the alt-right is like a living meme. That is hilarious. That's like something you'd see in a frickin' South Park sketch. It's like, you must be this white to enter this server. It's like, no, show me your ass. That's the whitest part.
This allowed the alt-right to centralize its message and disseminate information around the Charlottesville rallies. Discord service played a substantial role in fomenting the riots that led to the death of Heather Heyer.
Did you know that in the terrorist attacks that occurred in September 11th of 2001, the 4 planes that were used were all Boeings? Now, I was very young at the time. I'm still very young. But one thing I don't think they did at the time is to blame Boeing for those attacks and to say that, I don't know, to paraphrase, that Boeing was facilitating the rise of Islamic terror in the United States. Well, I mean, like, maybe in a literal sense of altitude they were, but I mean, you wouldn't make the comparison, right? I mean, if gaming in Discord is responsible for the rise of the alt-right, then Boeing is responsible for Islamic terror in the United States. Wouldn't you agree, NBC?
After facing pressure, Discord shut down the servers used to organize in Charlottesville. The company stated, "We will continue to take action against white supremacy, Nazi ideology, and all forms of hate."
Now, they weren't really telling the truth because, as far as I'm aware, the Antifa servers don't seem to be targeted in the same way as well. Antifa, for those of you who have forgotten, they are the domestic terrorist group, officially recognized by the US government. Also, Antifa is worse than the alt-right because Antifa are violent. In fact, one might even call their tactics, oddly reminiscent of fascists.
Perhaps not surprisingly, James Alex Fields Jr., the white supremacist charged for Heyer's death, was no stranger to video games.
Whew, here we go.
In 2010, his mother filed a complaint against him, claiming he struck her.
By the way, I really hate this chick's voice. It's just like the cadence and the tone at which she delivers her filth and lies and slander against gaming and Gamergate and the community and blames Discord for acts of terror. The way she delivers it is really what is getting to me.
In 2010, his mother filed a complaint against him, claiming he struck her in the head and locked her in the bathroom because she told him to stop playing video games.
Oh. That's the end. That's the video. Substantive in any possible way. What an absolute abortion of journalism that was. I mean, holy shit, Melanie, that was one of the worst videos I have ever seen in my life. Look at this garbage, Melanie. Look at this garbage. 350 likes, 32,600 dislikes. Are you serious? You couldn't get this kind of a ratio if you tried. And you did it in less than 4 minutes. That is genuinely impressive. I have never seen such an abortion of journalism in my life. You should be fucking ashamed of this. And I cannot believe that I'm dumbfounded. I mean, good job. 350 people liked it. and 32,500 people saw straight through your bullshit. I mean, are you proud of this? Is this your work? Is this what you went to school for? To become some hack? To become some liar? To be publicly shamed and humiliated like this because instead of doing what was ethical and being honest, you chose to waste your degree on easily debunked, lying talking points that nobody believes? You know, I thought I would be more angry at you. You know, for the slander and the lies and the deceit and the lack of ethics. But, you know, I don't think I'm angry. I think I'm something far, far worse than angry at you. I pity you. You aren't even worth the salt it takes to be angry. You're not worth the expenditure of emotional duress. I am so sorry that you spent all that time and effort to become a journalist, and this is what you did with it. You are a shame to journalism itself. But thanks for the material. Bye-bye.
Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel.